Our next Gen Trade initiative. We're leading the conversation here at WITA about the future of international trade policy, to educate the public and to equip trade professionals to address the critical issues constructively. To that end, later in January and into February, we plan to hold discussions at WITA about NAFTA, China, and the trade implications of U.S. tax reform efforts. Information about all these events can be found in the back in the room. Now for today, I couldn't be more pleased than to be hosting Ambassador Michael Froman's final keynote address as the United States Trade Representative. A formal introduction will be made by Congresswoman Suzan DelBene, but before the Congresswoman takes the stage, I want to say a personal thank you to Mike for his years of service to America, first at the Clinton White House and the Treasury, and of course all 8 years of the Obama administration. I've known Mike since his days in the Clinton White House, and he and his team have always been smart, tenacious, and gracious. And I know everyone in the room is grateful, as I am, for his friendship and service. Now for the formal introduction, I'd like to turn the podium over to Congresswoman Suzan DelBene of Washington. Suzan is the Vice Chair of the House New Democrat Caucus and the newest member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Her full biography is in your handout, so I won't do a lengthy introduction, but thank you, Congresswoman, for joining us this morning. It's an honor for WITA to host you and to host Ambassador Froman. Thank you. After the Ambassador's formal remarks, he'll stay for an armchair discussion with Bruce Stokes of Pew, who will join him on stage and will also take questions from the audience. Congresswoman DelBene.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone got coffee and is warm in this cold room this morning. I want to thank WITA for hosting this and giving us an opportunity to hear from Ambassador Froman, who I have the honor of introducing, but I'm pretty sure needs no introduction in this crowd. I represent Washington State's 1st Congressional District, which is the most trade-dependent state in the country and one of the most trade-dependent districts in the country. I also serve on the President's Export Council, and so trade has been a big part of the conversation, and I've had the honor of working with Ambassador Froman and his team as we continue, as we've had this conversation on trade and continue to have it going forward. I am here, though, in lieu of Jim Himes, the chair of the New Democratic Coalition, who couldn't be here, and so he just wanted to offer his regards, and he would be here if it weren't absolutely necessary for him to be back at the Capitol, but I'm glad that I got to be here instead. The New Democratic Coalition definitely believes that we can do a better job of addressing the opportunities, the challenges, and the concerns that have come as we continue to build the new economy. And we need to think collectively about how building that new economy is changing based on forces beyond trade, things like automation that are having a big impact but have impacted our conversation as we've seen over these last few years. And we need to work together to make sure that we have workers in the United States who can not only compete but can thrive in a 21st century economy. The New Democrats also believe that U.S. leadership is critical in having a voice and driving the conversation around the rules of globalization, something that Ambassador Froman has talked about very, very much, how critically important that is, and it's going to be important for us going forward. I think I can speak on behalf of people on both sides of the aisle and my colleagues both sides of the aisle that I don't think there is a harder working person in the administration than Ambassador Froman. He has never been inaccessible to us. He's always been incredibly accessible, willing to come back with a response, dedicated to the President's vision, and we all have truly, truly appreciated that. And as all of you know, you can't be a great leader if you don't have an incredible team, and he does have an incredible team, many who are here today, and we also want to thank all of you for your incredible work, and also he and his team have also racked up the miles. I was asking because I was interested in how many miles they put in over this 3.5 years that he has been in this position. they gave me a very exact number, 822,946. You haven't quite made your million miler yet, but you can keep working on that. Out of the 3.5 years, basically a year on the road, traveling around the world, and it has made an incredible difference. When I talk to folks in other countries, they have always talked in glowing terms about Ambassador Froman and his team and the dialogue that they've been able to have. He's also made an effort to visit districts across the country, including mine. I have a very diverse district, and so he had the opportunity to come and meet with our farmers and talk about everything from sanitary and phytosanitary measures, which I know we have experts on here, but also about cross-border data flows and technology and intellectual property. And I've always been incredibly impressed with how the ambassador can switch from one conversation in one area to another, and has always been up to date in so many different areas, because as you know, there is a seemingly infinite amount of areas that are covered when we talk about trade policy. So throughout his leadership, we've raised standards, we've increased enforcement. He filed 24 enforcement actions against the WTO, which is going to continue to be critically important as we have a trade conversation. 15 of those were against China. And as we work across our country to make sure we maintain our standing as a leader in the global economy, we have to do all that we can do to keep the trade conversation going in a positive direction. I know that's important to our state and to my state, to all of you, to the country. And we just want to thank you, Ambassador Froman, for the leadership you provided. We're excited to hear your parting words of wisdom. So please, everyone, will you join me in welcoming Ambassador Froman?